Welcome to the YouTube channel of Snelata Shrivastava. In this video, I am going to tell you about the declaration of assets and liabilities by members of Lok Sabha, which happened through the civil appeal filed in the Supreme Court. The important question put before the Supreme Court was whether before casting votes, the voters have a right to know relevant particulars of their candidates. Reliance was placed upon the recommendations made by the Law Commission of India in its 170th report, which called for true and correct disclosure of a statement of assets owned by the candidate, his spouse, and dependent relations. The Supreme Court, placing reliance on the International Covenant of Civil and Political Rights, observed that the right to get information in democracy is recognized all throughout, and it is a natural right flowing from the concept of democracy. Accordingly, the court directed the Election Commission to call for information on affidavit by issuing necessary order in exercise of its power under Article 324 of the Constitution from each candidate seeking election to Parliament or the state legislature to furnish information about his assets, immovable, movable, bank balances, etc., and of his spouse and that of dependents, along with the liabilities, if any, particularly whether there are any overdues of any public financial institutions or government dues. In pursuant thereto, the government held a meeting of the political parties on the 8th July 2012 with a view to evolving consensus regarding amendments required in the Representation of the People's Act 1951. The representatives of the various political parties unanimously expressed the view that there was a need to curb criminalization of politics and suggested that a draft bill be circulated. Accordingly, a draft bill was prepared and discussed in the meeting of political parties held on 2nd August 2002. In furtherance thereto, Representations of People Amendment Bill 2002 was passed by the Parliament, which inserted Section 75A in the Representation of People's Act 1951, providing for furnishing of information regarding assets and liabilities by members. In exercise of the powers conferred upon the Speaker Lok Sabha by subsection 3 of section 75A of the Representation of the People Act 1951, members of Lok Sabha Declaration of Assets and Liabilities Rules 2004 was enacted in 2004. As per Rule 3 of Assets and Liability Rules, every elected candidate for the House of the People shall within 90 days from the date on which he makes and subscribes an oath or affirmation for taking his seat furnish as in Form 1 the information as required to be furnished by him or her to the Speaker in pursuance of subsection 1 of section 75A, namely uh, 1. The movable and immovable property of which his spouse and his dependent children are jointly or severally owners or beneficiaries. His liabilities to any public financial institution, that is number 2. And 3. His liabilities to the central government or to the state governments, uh, etc. Any willful contravention of the Assets and Liabilities Rules 2004, including suppression of information about the assets and liabilities by any member, will amount to breach of privilege of the House. It's quite serious. Any citizen of India or any other member may make a complaint in writing to the Speaker, accompanied by an affidavit and copies of documentary evidence, if any, on which the complainant relies upon that a member has willfully contravened the provisions of assets and liabilities rules, and such a complaint shall also have to be signed and verified in the manner laid down in Code of Civil Procedure 1908. If the complaint complies with the procedural requirements of rules, then the complaint along with annexures are forwarded to such member seeking his comments in writing thereon to the speaker. After receiving and considering the comments, the speaker may reject the complaint on being satisfied that there has not been any willful contravention of the rules. If, however, the speaker is satisfied that it is necessary or expedient to do so, having regard to the nature and circumstances of the case, may refer the complaint to the Committee of Privileges for making an inquiry and submitting a report. So it is a very, very uh, important amendment which has been brought to bring in public domain the declaration of assets and liabilities of the members of parliament of Lok Sabha. Thank you.